Well, folks, you see me standing here in Arizona, and you're probably wondering, what's this video about? Well, it's a video about flying to a hunt, because we get so many questions about, hey, I'm flying for this hunt, I'm flying for that hunt. What's the rule here? What's the logistics there? So there's a lot to consider. We thought we'd do a quick video on this. You know, it comes down to, there's a few things that are the biggest challenges and that we get the most questions on. Probably about flying your firearm or your bow, meat care, trophy care, and rental rigs. Those are probably the four things we get the most questions on. So right here I'm standing next to a rental rig. I'll get to that in a bit. But the number one thing that will usually trip someone up is flying with a firearm. With a bow, there's not all the rules that there are with firearms. You just get it in a really good protective case with locks, and you should be set. Now with a firearm, you have to, the airline will give you this firearm declaration form. You got to sign it, you got to put it in your locked firearm case. Your firearm has to be unloaded, probably going to remove the bolt. Your case, however many grommets your case has that could have a lock attached, you need a lock in every grommet. If you got 4 of them, you need 4 locks. So those are things you got to be thinking about. With your ammo, every airline I've flown with requires your ammo to be in a factory box, and it goes in your firearms case. Now, I've had some people say, oh no, the airline I always fly, they want my ammo in my check bag. Whatever it is, make sure you got that dialed in with the airline that you're flying with, because you don't want to get there with, you know, ammo, hand-loaded ammo in your own case and have them take it from you. This is really important stuff, because don't bet that wherever you get, you're going to be able to buy the ammo that you need. So that kind of covers flying with a firearm. I would say always go to the TSA website and the website of the airline that you're flying with if you have any questions. We do this all the time and it's a routine for us, but every once in a while someone throws us a little hiccup. So just make sure you got it dialed in, because if you get there, you're trying to catch your flight, this is the hunt of a lifetime, and you run into a snag with TSA, not any fun. So let's get to the next one, meat care. This is really dependent upon what species you're hunting, how far out in the bush or how far away you're going to be. And I'll tell you why. Like right here, I'm in Arizona, I'm on a coos deer hunt, right? Coos deer are these itty bitty little things. I brought a 65 quart Yeti that's gonna fit that entire deer when I fly home. So, shot a deer, took care of it. There's dry ice in there. That meat's gonna be just fine until we fly home in another day. Small things like pronghorn and these little deer, probably not an issue. You start talking about big animals like moose and elk, now you really got to give it some thought. There's a reason why a lot of people who fly, let's say on an elk hunt, they use a local meat processor. And then they have that processor ship the meat to them. Why? Because it's cheaper than flying a whole bunch of coolers, trying to find a way to process that meat yourself while you're out there hunting. So meat care, think about it, because the last thing you want to do is get an animal on the ground and say, oh, I thought I'd just donate this to some local. And you don't have a way to take care of your meat. We love all the meat that we take. That's why you see us drive to places like Alaska, northern Canada. If it's any big animal that's very far away, we're probably driving, because it's going to be cheaper to get that meat home under those circumstances. Little bonus tip here about flying to a hunt. Bowing your animals out, you're going to save a bunch of freight and weight costs on the airline. And it's stuff you're not probably going to use when you get home anyhow. So save that money and take a few minutes to get this done before you get on the plane. Now, the third one is, if you want to call it trophy care, hide care, horn, antler care, whatever you want to talk about. For us, in addition to flying with a cooler, we usually fly with one of those little Rubbermaid totes. And in there we put a burner, we put a boiling pot, we put just the things we need to boil a skull before we fly home. Because in just about every state I can think of, any cervid it's prohibited to have any interstate transport of brain matter or spinal tissue. So first thing we do once we get an animal on the ground, we run to town, buy a little propane bottle, a little bit of baking soda, and we just boil that head, and then it goes in that tote and comes back home with us. Now, if you got a big animal like a moose or an elk or a caribou, check with your airline, because a lot of them anymore are starting to restrict those items as checked bags. So how are you going to get that home? A lot of people say, well, you know what, it's just easier for me whether to do a Euro mount or whatever. I'm just going to use a local taxidermist and have them ship it to me. That's fine. Just be prepared for that and just know how you're going to handle that when you get there. And the same goes for the capes. If you're going to do a shoulder mount, you better have that thing fleshed, and you better have it salted and dried, and then you can fly it home in your checked bag. Otherwise, you're probably going to want to leave that with a local taxidermist and have them take care of it. And if they're taking care of that, they're probably going to want to do your entire shoulder mount. So those are the things we do when we're talking about antlers, horns, skulls, and hides. Now, the last one is rental rigs. This is like the biggest pain in the bottom side of anything that comes with flying to a hunt. Now, some of you say, well, I just use an outfitter and I use his rig. Well, that's fine. I'm talking about those of us who fly and we're going to do it all and plan it ourselves. I lucked out this time. They gave me a Dodge Ram that actually is four-wheel drive. A lot of times you show up, you say, I want a four-wheel drive. You show up, they're like, well, all we have is this little two-wheel drive, 5-speed. That's not going to get me very far. Or, well, we got this, really beautiful SUV, it doesn't have much clearance and it's got street tires, but you could take that. No, that's not going to work. The point of it is you're probably going to get stuck with whatever's there. As you can see by the Skinner tires they put on these things, these are street tires, so I'm not going to go up in the rocks. I'm not going to go out in the mud and snow. So when you're planning your hunt based on using a rental rig, don't plan a hunt that requires you to get 40 miles off the road. Maybe not even 4 miles off the road, because you might end up with a rig that just isn't capable. And now your whole plan is shot, and you end up having to sort of reshuffle the deck before you even get out hunting. One other thing, if you want to save some money, make a copy of your insurance card and bring that with you on your phone so that you don't have to pay for that expensive rental car insurance. Any good insurance company that issues auto insurance is going to cover you when you are renting a vehicle somewhere else. It'll save you a ton of money if you do that. So anyhow, hope that helps. We fly to a lot of these hunts. This is our suggestions, our recommendations based on decades of doing this. And if you have other questions, if we didn't cover something and a bunch of you asked the same question, leave it in the comments down below and we'll maybe do a video about that also. Anyhow, tons of hunting opportunity out there. Even if you fly to hunt, just be prepared. Don't have any unknowns. Don't have anything pop up because you failed to think about it, and you'll probably have a great hunt.